Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone out there, welcome to another episode of Full Moon Fridays here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. We are back. Gentlemen, how many months has it been since we actually recorded something? Like, the audience doesn't know, but it's been quite a while since we've actually done one of these, right?
I'd say it's been about 3 months, but we got 3 months ahead on our release schedule, so there's not actually a gap as long as Matt posts this timely.
Oh yeah, they're all up. There's no gap. Kind of took a break over the holidays and whatnot. But again, we can't stay away from full moon, right? We must continue on our full moon trek. Yeah, we probably should have. So we are back now. We have been doing franchises in the past. We did, of course, Subspecies. We did Puppet Master. We did Trancers. That's what we've been doing. And I think on a previous show 3 months ago, we decided, hey, let's take a one-off, two-off sort of break from the franchise and just try some kind of one-off stuff. And it was kind of proposed. I don't know who proposed it, but Seedpeople, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. Charles Band has generally considered this the worst full moon movie. So bad he would never want to do a sequel to it, which is saying something, right? Because this has seed people running around, coming on everyone. So you would think he would want to come back to this well and do a sequel to Seed People. He wants nothing to do with Seed People. And then next week we're going to talk about Head of the Family, which Charles Band considers like the best full moon film. So both of them are one-offs. And so this week we're going to talk Seed People first. Now, Borp, I'm going to throw this over to you. Mm-hmm. What were your expectations of Seed People? Had you ever heard of this movie before?
I had not heard of this movie, but I did recognize the cover. This is one of those covers that's very iconic, I feel like.
Iconic? That's a strong term. Okay.
Well, I don't know. I remember seeing these like fucked up looking Seed People being like, what's that? And then I never actually watched it. So, iconic might be a stretch, but I remember seeing this cover, always being a little intrigued by it. But oh boy, I was kind of I was interested in these one-off movies. Like I think I was the one being like, hey, let's do these movies that they didn't make a franchise out of.
Please, no more puppets.
That's crazy. That's crazy that they actually made some movies and said, hey, let's not do sequels to these because some of those Trancer sequels were real rough, and Puppet Master sequels, of course. Yeah.
No toys. I don't think there's any Seed People toys. I'm going to look that up real quick because that's probably the best gauge for whether Charles Band liked a movie or not. Did he put money into creating toys of the things in that movie? Steve, what were your thoughts? Had you seen this before back in the day? What were you thinking going into Seed People?
I feel like I also now remember some box art that may have been like eye-catching, but no, I've never seen this before. I knew nothing about it other than like based on the title. I was expecting a Body Snatchers ripoff, which is exactly what I got. I will assume that when Charles Band says this is the worst movie I've ever made, like there's just off to the side in parentheses, there are the words "at the time," because this is not even close to the worst thing he's ever made. It's not good, but I was expecting significantly worse. Like if he had said, this is the worst movie I made, post Puppet Master or whatever, fine. But oh yeah, he needs to revisit that quote if he's still standing by that.
Do we know when he said this, and did he elaborate on why it was the worst thing to him?
Well, this was based on an original idea by Charles Band, which is he just stole Invasion of the Body Snatchers and claimed it was his own original idea. And I think he had problems with the director, Peter Manoogian, when they were making this. I think it comes from, I don't know the exact time in which he said it. I've heard him say it over the years at various times, but I couldn't give you a pinpoint the exact time I heard it. But I think Charles Band, I think he even mentions this in his book also about like just the shitty process of making this. And it could be something as simple as he just had a horrible time making this movie. Nothing went right. It wasn't what he wanted it to be. And that's like personally, that's why he hates this film. Like he probably intended to make a shitty cash grab puppet master movie. So he doesn't consider that bad because that's what he set out to do. But maybe Seed People, he had this grand design for an incredible franchise that would go on forever and be at the level of Puppet Master, and this director just completely botched it in his opinion. That's kind of the vibe and stories I've heard from Charles Band at the time. But yeah, like you, Borp, I did remember the box art to this. I do remember watching this back in the day, but I don't think I ever really paid close attention to it because it just didn't. I didn't find it that interesting back in the day. Revisiting this now, the second time I've watched this in 3 months or whatever, because we were supposed to record these before we went on hiatus. Well, I'll save my thoughts for
you suckers. Actually, rewatch this.
I did. I
didn't watch it the first time. I didn't watch it.
Okay. So Matt watched it twice.
I've watched it twice. Thank you.
Yep.
So yeah, that was. Let's get into Seed People. It's all one word, by the way. No, it's not Seed space People. It's Seed People. So you gotta say the title quickly, Steve, to make sure there's no space in between there.
Seed People.
No. Seed People.
No,
you're no fun.
I'm not.
No fun allowed. Steve.
Seed People is how we're gonna refer to it. Anyways, let's talk about the shit ass movie. So it's who's the guy that plays RoboCop? Is that Peter Weller?
Yes.
All right. This main actor, like, all I could think when I saw him was discount Peter Weller. Like, for a moment, I actually thought this was like an early Peter Weller role that he just doesn't want to talk about. This guy looks like Peter Weller. Anyways, have I mentioned that he looks like Peter Weller? Discount Peter Weller. Yeah. He wakes up like on an operating. He's like in a hospital. He's being restrained. He's all like, "Oh, they're coming! They're gonna get us! You have to let me out of here so I can go and stop them." And the doctor's like, it's fine. You're just crazy. It'll be okay. This will pass. And then like government agent comes in and is like, "Hey, discount Peter Weller. I know about the Seed People. Why don't you tell me what happened?" And then Peter Weller's like, "All right, well, let me tell you the story." And so then the whole movie is like a flashback from here. He is going to like Comet Valley or something like that. What's this place's name, Matt? You just watched
Comet Valley.
Comet Valley. Look at you.
I also want to.
Look at you retaining all of these details after months and months.
Mind is a steel trap.
Jesus. It is.
Yeah. I hate this.
I want to say, as soon as it flashed back, I'm like, oh no, is this one of those clip show movies? Because it has the like wraparound of one of those movies, but it's not actually.
Yeah,
I was worried.
This is something. Luckily, we live in the better timeline where Charles Band didn't think of this, because there is an alternate timeline out there where Charles Band made 6 Seed People movies, and this is Seed People 7, The Revengeancing, and it's just a clip show of previous shit. But anyways, discount Peter Weller goes to Comet Valley. He's given some meteorite symposium. Like hundreds of years ago, like a meteorite famously crashed into Comet Valley, and that's this town's entire claim to fame. He gets there, and
it's
there's
not
just
Meteorite Valley. It's Comet Valley.
Comet Valley.
Even though a meteorite crashed.
Yeah, I remember the word meteorite being said multiple times.
This is interesting. Okay, yeah, this is interesting because Alyssa started watching this with me before she promptly fell asleep because she's like, "This is trash." So they talk about meteors, meteoroids, and meteorites in this script. And so just for everyone out there to know your space stuff, a meteor is flying through space. A meteoroid enters Earth's atmosphere, and a meteorite is when it actually survives and slams into the Earth, and there's something you can actually find. So that's my Neil deGrasse Tyson learning lesson for everybody out there watching Full Moon Friday. So they actually talk about meteoroids. That's where this whole came up, because I started looking. I'm like meteoroid. What is a meteoroid? And then they go back to meteorite. So they actually have logical, science, accurate terms in this film, Steve. So give it some
props. It's commonly referred to as padding the script, because none of that is important whatsoever to the story.
That's true.
It's like we need to get 5 more minutes to hit the standard feature length running time. What can we do? Oh, let's talk about meteors and meteoroids and meteorites, even though the place is called Comet Valley.
Well,
So anyways,
Meteorite Valley isn't quite as punchy, I don't think.
that's fine, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
They're like, oh, let's sound smart, and then they threw that in there. Anyways,
Meteoriteville. That's what it should have been called.
You should make
not
movies.
I
not
should.
as catchy as not
I
as
should.
catchy as Comet Valley.
What was the
Uh,
Oh, never mind. I'll get back to it. There's another famous horror film. What's the one with Kelly Maroney? Night of the Comet. What's the name of that town? Isn't it like Comet
mm,
Valley or something? I don't know. I'll look it up.
All
Keep
right,
on
look
saying.
it up. Anyways, discount Peter Weller shows up and he's given a meteorite symposium, but he just sees like craziness afoot all over town. Like there's a crazy doctor who's wearing UV lamps on his head, running around trying to conduct experiments. There's a just weird off farmer who was played by one of the orderlies that was in one of the Trancers movies that we recently watched, and he's just nuts.
You
Uh,
remembered that? Holy shit!
what?
Wow, that's
What?
crazy. I had no idea. And you're
And
like, oh, this random farmer guy played an orderly in one of these transfers movies. I'm like, what?
it won't go away once it's up here.
Jeez. See,
Uh,
Borb, you and I don't even have to worry about anything. Like,
right,
I don't have
right.
to worry about trying. There's no need for me to even watch these movies because I could just show up. Steve can just say whatever hell. I'll be like, awesome, Steve. Yep, that's what happened.
No, I'm gonna forget something, and I'm gonna need you two to fill in the blanks.
Yep.
Anyways, Peter Weller then gets into his own backstory, which is completely pointless and needless for the movie. The only place, so there's a bridge. There's the bridge is the only way in or out of
Mhm.
town. So you know that's a very well designed town. Um, but Peter Weller is going to he's staying at a bed and breakfast, which is the only place to stay at in this town, and it's run by his ex girlfriend, and the ex girlfriend is not in a relationship, I don't think, but the town jerk cop wants to get with her, and also,
It's
uh,
unclear because they kind of make it seem like she's not in a relationship with the
but then they
deputy.
kiss at one point, right?
And then he's like, "Hey, I don't feel good with your ex boyfriend running around here in his shorts and stuff," and acts very strange.
Yeah.
And then the guy actually asks her, "Is like, why haven't you married the deputy or yet, or whatever?" And she's like, "Because he still hasn't got his head out of his ass, or whatever." So it's unclear as to what their relationship
Yeah.
is.
There's just a lot of unnecessary small town drama. Like this guy comes back to stay living or staying in his ex girlfriend's bed and breakfast while the ex girlfriend's maybe boyfriend is hanging around, and then also the ex girlfriend's brother and the brother's daughter. So the ex girlfriend's niece are living there because the brother's wife has died recently. There's just a lot of like Hallmark movie bullshit thrown into this movie for no particular reason. It's all ultimately like unimportant and goes nowhere. Um, People are starting to notice weird things. The daughter, so the niece of the ex girlfriend, is like, no, the housekeeper. She's a fucking alien. Like, I don't trust her. I don't want to be around her. She's a goddamn seed person, and clearly no one believes the niece. But obviously she is correct.
So obvious.
The housekeeper is indeed a seed person, and then so I mean, just little by little, people just start getting infected. Farmers, everyone in this town that's not working with meteorites is a farmer, and so they're like, okay, well, it's 11:52 at night, time to go work the farm, and so they go out into the middle of this field in the middle of the night, and there's just a weird tree and with like weird pods on it, and so this guy picks up a stick and is like, I'm gonna poke the weird pod, and so he pokes the weird pod, and it just comes all over him. This like
It really
It
does.
does.
Yeah,
just
A lot
this
of cum.
yeah.
sticky, gooey white liquid gets sprayed all over this man, and it turns him into a seed person.
Like cocoons
Uh,
him. Cocoons him and cum.
Right.
In slow
Cocoons him
motion.
and come in slow motion. Words I was not expecting to hear today. Uh, and then later on, another person finds a spooky tree because they also decided to go out into a farm at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then
I
it's
thought
like,
it was the same tree. Was it not the same
is it
tree?
the same? Maybe it was the same tree. I don't know, but I feel like
It looked like the same
I,
tree.
I, I think these were two separate incidents though. Like it's not like I don't
Yeah.
think it's a scenario where like there are two guys show up, one guy get covered in cum, and the other guy's like, okay, well I'm going to stand here and I'm going to poke the other pod and see if I also get a creamy money shot. At
Yeah,
some point later
it's two
on,
different
okay,
moments, but I think they used
it,
the same tree.
it might be the same tree, but anyways, a separate incident with possibly the same tree. Another guy sees a tree and is like, oh hey. Let me fuck with this weird tree that came out of nowhere, and so this guy gets covered in what I assume is meant to be pollen, and so he
Right.
also turns into a seed
Looks
person. But
like popcorn to me.
there's different types of seed people. There's like little guys that roll on the ground. There's guys that fly through the air. There's big like bulky monsters. I actually kind of
Critters.
liked, yeah,
Yeah.
I actually kind of liked that there were different kinds of seed people. And I don't know if they intended to set it up to where like depending on what what things came out of the tree and interacted with you, like you turn into a different kind of seed person. I don't know if they established that. That's kind of the idea that I got. I think that was a cool idea that depending on if you get the liquid or the popcorn, you turn into a different seed person. Ultimately, it goes nowhere. There's no like real reason for there to be different kinds of seed people in this movie. Um, Little by little, I mean, I'm struggling here. There's not a whole lot of meat to this. Little by little, more of the town gets converted. Finally, there's a subplot where the angry possibly boyfriend cop thinks that the crazy scientist guy has killed the deputy or whatever. Clearly it wasn't. It was the seed people. And so they're trying. The cop wants to arrest the crazy town doctor, but oh no, the cop ends up getting converted to a seed person. So now the doctor and discount Peter Weller are the only two people left because the ex girlfriend and niece also get converted to seed people. There's a point where like, do you have something?
Yeah, can I interrupt with a
Yeah,
question
go
real
for it.
quick? Do they ever explain? This might be a silly question, but do they ever explain why no one tried to like go to the next town over?
Well, they cover that with the bridge. There's only one way in or out, and I thought the bridge was going to be closed down for X number of days for some
Oh,
reason.
is that what? Okay, never
I
mind then.
think.
Okay, I don't remember anything about the bridge being closed down, but
I don't either, and I just watched it last night. But I'm not gonna question Steve's
Okay.
mind.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know for sure, but they go out of their way to be like, "Did you know the bridge is the only way in and out of town? Hey guys, do
Okay.
you remember that the bridge is the only
Right.
way in or
Okay.
out?" So
They do
I
say
think,
I do agree with that. They do say when Peter Weller is driving in, he does mention in his voiceover that is the only way in and out of the town.
yeah,
I
I
just don't
think
remember it being
bridge.
Okay.
closed down.
All right, I think bridge shenanigans were afoot,
All right.
and that
Okay.
kept people
Okay.
from leaving.
Good.
Um, Again, there's not much to say about this. It gets to the point where only Peter Weller, the crazy doctor, and the ex girlfriend and the niece are the only like four humans left in town, as far as anyone can tell. Um, the Peter Weller and the scientist crazy doctor are like, all right, the two women, you stay here. We are going to go out and do man shit. And so Peter Weller and that's what happens. They leave the women at home so that the two guys can go out and save the day,
Yeah,
which does not work out whatsoever because they go back and find that the niece and ex girlfriend have been captured by the seed people, and they actually watch the two of them get converted. Like I think the sheriff, it's the sheriff or the niece's dad just turns into a seed person, and then just fucking like mind links with them to turn them into seed people. I didn't really understand how they got converted because they're just screaming and they look at a seed person and now they are a seed person.
Like, there's a lot about these seed people that don't get explained. They also transform.
Yeah, yeah,
at random times. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
they never really show exactly how they become human. Now, we should point out that if you're watching this episode and you're like, well, wait a minute, Where did the seed people come in the first place? The meteorites. So they find out that all of the meteorites that have landed in town are actually seeds, and so there's a moment when discount Peter Weller like opens one up or something, and you see that weird like gooey creature thing in there, and that's when he kind of realizes, oh my god, they're seed people. Now you can tell a person is a seed people, a seed person, a seed person, because they do the classic invasion of the body snatchers. They have zero emotion whatsoever. So like the maid or whoever initially, where the little girl is being like, she's not normal, whatever. She just talks like this. What is wrong, Borp? Are you okay? It's that same sort of invasion of the body snatchers thing. So you immediately know as an audience who is who. But I mention that because there's a dichotomy with the actual kind of wraparound device here. So it constantly cuts back throughout the course of this film to discount Peter Weller, who's like strapped to a hospital gurney. He's got this horrible concussion, and the doctors are there trying to help him. And this FBI agent has walked in. He's like, "You got to tell me what's going on." And what I love about this is the doctors are in there at the beginning, and they're like, "You got to get out of here. I'm trying to treat my patient." And the FBI agent's like, "I'm FBI. I'm law enforcement. I'll arrest you if you don't let me talk to this guy." The doctor's like, "Okay." Like, okay. Um, but throughout this whole thing here, like the, and I'm going to spoil something here. I'm going to spoil it now so I don't forget about it. But the FBI agent's acting like a normal person. Like he's not. He doesn't have the emotionless stuff, whatever. But what we come to find out, the twisty twist here, is that the FBI agent is a seed person. And so I guess at some point along the way, they wisen up and they realize, what's easier to do to take over humanity is let's just pretend we have emotions and we're normal people, and then we
Let's
can just
learn
take
to
over.
act.
Yeah, well, learn to act and we'll be fine. So yeah, that's going on in the background here. These are all seeds that landed in
Yes.
Comet Valley.
Yes. Anyways, through means that are not clear to the audience, the ex girlfriend and niece have been converted. So now Discount Peter Weller and the crazy doctor are the only two humans left in this town. They learned that ultraviolet light hurts the seed people. And it keeps the seeds from progressing to the next stage or whatever. Ultraviolet light is the kryptonite of the seed people, and so they come up with a plan where they are going. I think they end up like rescuing the niece and ex-girlfriend and maybe even the cop, but they come up with a plan. They understand that the seed people that have been taken over, they've replaced them. Uh, they are excavating all of these seeds that crashed into the valley hundreds of years ago, and they are going to load the seeds into a truck and just casually spread them around the country to to facilitate more seed people being created. And so the crew decides, all right, we're going to rig up this super mega ultraviolet light vortex thing, and then we're going to bring all the seeds over here, and then we're going to just turn on the UV lights to kill all the seeds in mass. And so it does the thing where in every like body snatchers movie, they eventually figure out, if we pretend to be emotionless, they can't tell we're not seed people.
No,
And so
original idea by Charles Band,
yes.
Steve. Original idea.
Matt, I've got this great original idea for this movie called Puppet Mancer, and it's going to be about puppets coming back to life. And there's going to be a master puppeteer, not a puppet master, but a master puppeteer that's going to bring the puppets back to life.
Master
and the puppets will go out and do things. Original idea by Steve Eaton here.
That's
Anyways,
fantastic, Steve. I'm investing right now. I'll give you all of my money.
thank you.
Kickstarter campaign. Let's go.
So they figure out that as long as we pretend to be dead inside, the PC people can't tell that we are that we're human. And so luckily it turns out that the seed person cop and the seed person ex-girlfriend were the people assigned to drive the truck away when the seed meteorites were loaded into the back of it. And so they just show up in their truck, and they're just like, "Yes, hello, we are definitely seed people, fellow seed person. Please load the seeds into the truck, and we will drive away with them." And the seed people fall for it, and so all the seeds get loaded into this truck by the reformed or and then the cop and the ex girlfriend, who are now human again. They take the truck and they drive away, and they try to drive it to where the crazy doctor and discount Peter Weller have got all the UV lights set up, and they're just going to nuke all of these seeds at once. But of course, the humans can't get their shit together. They drop the act. The seed people recognize that this is a trick. Final fight ensues. Most of the people are like, by the power of the UV lights, most of the people are returned to normal, except the housekeeper. And so the housekeeper gets in the truck and tries to drive away with the remaining seeds, and discount Peter Weller jumps on the truck to try to stop her,
Action
which
scene.
result yes, chase scene, which results in the truck crashing, uh, housekeeper presumably dying, and Peter Weller getting seriously injured. And that injury is what leads him to being in the hospital. And so now we cut back to the framing device, and Peter Weller's still strapped to the gurney, and FBI's guys like, "Are you sure that no one else knows about this? Are you were currently the only person who has actually gotten out of town?
Well, the FBI agent's trying to figure out what happened to that scientist guy, the crazy
That's
scientist.
right. That's right. All right.
And the guy's
All
like,
right.
"Oh, he burned up." Like Peter Weller is like, "He burned to a crisp. He's dead." And then they're like, "Ha ha! Victory over humanity."
Yeah, this whole thing was a ruse to the whole FBI thing is a ruse to find out who else knows about this. And I guess everyone else, presumably who was rescued previously, is still stuck in the town. They can't leave. They can't do anything. Uh, the FBI guy just needed to know, did the crazy doctor survive? Because the crazy doctor is the one that figured out the UV lights. He had all the master plans to stop the seed people. And once Peter Weller reveals that the doctor is dead, then the mask drops. In walks the housekeeper, and they're like, "Ha, ha, ha,
And
we
his ex
won."
girlfriend with the
And
bed
his
and
ex girlfriend.
breakfast.
So I guess she
Right.
has been reinfected by seed juice now.
Yeah.
So
She got
Peter Weller,
sprayed the seed cum, and now she's a seed person again.
yes. Uh, the end. The victory
Yeah.
for seed people. Humanity's all gonna die. Like, there's not much to this movie, like whatsoever.
No, there's not. But somehow we got basically 30 minutes of discussion out of it so far. So good job, Steve. Good job. Borp, your thoughts on Seed People?
Boy, this is really uneventful. I would say, where like, oh, man, okay, the thing you said about in the beginning about Charles Band not liking this movie due to its troubled production kind of makes some sense to me now, because there's just a lack of like B-roll pickup shots, continuity. Like it feels
Oh,
like
yeah.
the whole wraparound is just like made to have the movie make sense. It's like narration to transition between scenes. There's a lot of things here that just don't make a ton of sense. Like I get that we're kind of introduced to this town through the character who comes back to it, so we're like put in the middle of all this like small town politics. But ultimately, like I thought some of it would transition into the actual Seed People storyline, but it never does. Because like in other movies like this, Stepford Wives, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, like all that drama, like that transitions into the actual horror of it. And here it never does. It feels like two different movies. It really like it felt to me like one of those clip show movies in certain ways. So I was not a fan of this one.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you can tell that there were problems making this movie quite easily. Getting back to your B-roll, I don't think they got enough footage of the actual Seed People doing stuff, because if you see a lot of the Seed People scenes, it's like going in slow motion. Like every time they cut to a
Right.
seed person, it's like, we have to like draw this footage out as long as we can by putting it in slow motion because we cut too quick or something, and there's just not enough footage of what we
This
need.
is a short movie, so yeah, that
Yeah,
tracks.
it's probably like 85 minutes, if that. And of course, the opening credits, I actually looked, it's like 2.5 minutes. The opening credits have no footage over it. It's just the titles of whatever. Um, I I didn't like this movie. Obviously, I think it's, why would you ever watch this when you could watch Invasion of the Body Snatchers? Like, why? There doesn't seem to be a good reason for this movie to exist in the first place. It's like based on an original idea by Charles Band. What was that original idea? That's what I want to know. What was that original idea? Because I don't think there's really anything original in this at all. I mean, it's all very. I feel like I've seen everything 1,000 times in different movies. So I'm lost on what the original idea for it was. What I will say is I do like Steve said, I do kind of like the seed people. When you get to see them, I think it's kind of cool. Like there was like a baby seed people person or whatever, and then there's like the adult that's like, I don't know if it's a parent coming to try to find it or something. They all kind of have a little bit different designs, which I thought were kind of cool. So the actual seed people themselves, they're on the screen briefly. I mean, they do not get a lot of screen time, but when they are there, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, I like to see that. I would have definitely liked to have seen this movie from the seed people's perspective. I think that would have been an interesting take on it. Like, a seed person appears because we get these little things where the characters are seeing the seed people doing stuff, like all the people who are infected, and we watch them, and then the seed people will notice them and then transform into their critter ball and roll towards them. Like the little girl with the movie camera and stuff like that. But wouldn't it have been kind of interesting to do the whole movie from the perspective of the seed people, because that's never done. It's whenever there's an Invasion of the Body Snatchers movie, it's always humanity basically dealing with that. But what if it's just these seed people be like, these fucking people are trying to kill us, and we're just trying to survive here. We're just good seed people. We're not trying to be bad, and then having to deal with humans trying to take them down. That would have been interesting. That would have been an original idea. Maybe that's what Charles Band thought of. We'll give him some credit. Maybe that's what he wanted and he didn't get it. I don't know, but no, didn't like this movie at all. Steve, your thoughts on Seed People?
Yeah, no, this is far from the worst thing I've ever seen from Charles Band. So like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
it's
Yeah.
either when he says this is the worst thing I've ever done, he either means at the time or he's really talking about the experience of making it. Because this is probably like a mid tier like full moon movie. But yeah, I think Borp's nailed my general thoughts. It's like this feels like two separate ideas. Like the small town drama aspect never really impacted the seed people like or parts of the film. It's like 20 minutes of an alien invasion were dropped into a Hallmark movie about ex-lovers reuniting and reconnecting over the
Mm,
holidays while the evil current boyfriend tries to keep them apart. And also there are seed people.
yeah, that's a
Now
good
this
description.
this is this is hot garbage, but I mean, I'll never watch it again, but it certainly is definitely not the worst full moon movie I've ever seen. Not even close. Just as part of this series we're doing, I've probably watched at least 15 worst made full moon movies.
But here's the question, guys. Would you buy a toy of the Seed People?
I don't know if I would give Charles Band any money at this point.
I
I
feel
like
like
the Seed People. I would buy a toy of a seed person if he created one. I think
I
that's
would yeah
cool.
I would buy a seed person toy that's reasonably priced. I would not buy
Yeah.
a premium edition $300 Seed People toy that he would probably try to produce if he thought there was interest in this
Yeah.
franchise.
My favorite moment of this film came from Alyssa's reaction when we started watching this, because she doesn't call Charles Band. She just calls him a fucking snake oil salesman. I like that's what she says. And she, as soon as the full moon logo popped up, she goes, "Oh, I know what this bullshit's going to be about." And then we started watching it, and as soon as the housekeeper popped up, not making like any sort of thing, she's like, well, she's a seed people person, and then she's like, Charles Band's a fucking loser, and then she just went to sleep. So there you go. You've lost her, Charles. You've lost her
I
as a
have
fan.
one question. The niece character. How old was that character supposed to be? Because it looks like a 35-year-old woman that they put in like overalls that are way too short for her to make people think that she's 11.
100%.
I could not stop noticing that. It's like they took an adult woman and like put her in oversized kid clothes so she could pretend to be this little kid. Meanwhile, she is a fully functioning adult that is just as tall and as big as everyone else in the movie.
Yeah, I made that comment to Alyssa. I'm like, that's the oldest little kid I've ever seen in my life. Like that was, I don't know. I don't remember the name of the kid. Borp, do you remember the name of the kid?
I don't either. I'm looking through this cast list.
Okay.
As long as we made the same observation, because
Yeah.
any time the niece character was on screen, that was all I could think about. It's like this is like a 30-year-old person told to act like an 8-year-old. It's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
surely Charles Band could have found a child to put in this movie, but he did not.
I'm trying to look here. Kim, Mrs. Santiago. Let me know if any of these names sound right. Heidi.
Heidi sounds like a kid's name. That sounds like a name that
But
Charles.
wasn't Heidi the main ex-girlfriend?
Yeah, I think she's second build, so I don't think.
Okay,
Brad,
well then,
Doc, Kim.
Kim is probably it.
Okay, played by Holly Fields. Let's see. Oh, looks like she was in Wishmaster. She was born in 1976. So this movie came out in 1992. So that makes her 16, right?
It can't be right. There's no way that girl.
She's. I don't know. Maybe she had seen some shit by 16 years old. I don't know. She's the oldest looking 16-year-old I've ever seen.
Boy, I'm glad I stayed quiet throughout this conversation. Huh?
Oh my gosh, this Holly Fields though, she's got a huge. She's in video games.
Be careful.
No, Steve. That's not what I mean. Steve, this girl, the oldest little girl in the history of movies, Holly Fields. Guess what her most recent credit was? Something that you love.
I'm assuming it's going to be Final Fantasy if you're
bringing
this up.
She's voices in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. She's voice. She does tons of video game stuff. Star Wars games.
What's her credit for VII Rebirth?
Additional voices. Your favorite character.
Yes. Yeah. She was in Arrow, Rebecca Merlin, a voice. Yeah, she just does voice work. Probably because she doesn't look the proper age for any of these roles. So she's just gonna do voice. She's Aphrodite girl number 1 in God of War 3.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's one of the sex girls, right?
I never played God of War. So explain, Matt.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember exactly. I think it's God of War 3. One of the God of War games, Kratos goes to visit Aphrodite, and Aphrodite, like, there's a mini game where you can have sex with these two like topless girls that are with Aphrodite or whatever, and that seems like she was one of the voices for that. So maybe she does some of the weird sex sounds for that. She was Black Cat in Spider-Man 2 video game. So yeah, Gwen Stefani's voice in Celebrity Deathmatch. So yeah, she put it. This girl, Steve,
She's working.
She is working hard. She's got a nice long career in video games. So good on you, Holly. Good on you. She's in Quantum Leap. I mean, she's got Alf. Wow. Yeah, she's got. Maybe we should do a Holly Fields podcast. She was in Silk Stockings. Holy shit! We need to end this stream soon. So
I'm just waiting for you to tell me you're done fawning over this girl.
I'm done, Steve. I'm done.
We'll wrap it up. This is your show.
The end, everybody. We'll be back. We'll be back next week with Charles Band's claimed best film in his oeuvre, which is Head of the Family. We will decide, as the grand arbiters of whether or not full moon movies are good or bad. We will decide next week whether or not Head of the Family is the best full moon movie we've ever seen. Until then, see you next week.